Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of NK Real Talk. This time we have our guest here, no other than Devany Zito.
Yours truly, guys. It's my first Real Talks, Mr. NK.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And she's our condo queen. And you know what? I thought who better than Devany
to help you out with this very heavy, loaded topic of assignments.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, as many of you know, we've been advertising a lot of assignments lately. And there are some great deals there. There are some great opportunities there. And for those who are investing in pre-construction, they need to know what assignment is, because a lot of people that are getting into pre-construction for the first time, when we discuss the whole assignment concept, it's kind of foreign to them and they don't know how the whole thing works. So right now we want to kind of dissect it, go into it and see.
Iron out some of the benefits. Iron out some of things to look out for.
Yeah.
The
risk, benefits, and how the entire procedure works. So let's talk about assignment. And for the purpose of this video, we're going to just focus on assigning pre-construction condos. So an assignment is assigning the rights and benefits of an agreement of a purchase and sale to another person. So
essentially, there's two parties to this. So you have the assignee and the assignor. Namely, the assigner is the seller, and then the purchaser would be the assignee.
Assignee would be putting an offer to purchase something that someone else has purchased previously at a pre-construction stage. And you can only do this before closing. So you can assign that contract before you close it, because after you close it, it's essentially going to be a resale property.
Yeah. So why don't I walk you guys through a little bit of a timeline on purchasing the pre-construction. So essentially you'd be purchasing straight from the builder, right? And you want to be able to assign this piece of paper, we'll call it in essence, to your assignee, okay? So how that process occurs is you have two things that will happen. And I really want to make sure to simplify this for everybody, not to have anyone confused. There's occupancy and there's closing. And those are two very different things, right? One happens before the other. So you have the occupancy stage, which is when you get the keys from the builder, okay? You are not the legal owner at this point in time. You do, however, have access to the unit. And obviously there's other things that can be involved, like putting a tenant in, which we will get into later. Finalizing that, you have the final closing. And that is when you become the legal owner, where the title is name changed from the builder into the assignee who has purchased the assignment.
That is the timeline to keep in mind, because we're going to talk about it later on, at what stage you can assign. So before we get there, let's talk about the benefits and risk involved in any assignments.
Yeah.
So I want to go through some of the benefits of an assignment, because anytime you're purchasing a pre-con condo, you want to make sure you have this clause, which is an assignment clause that allows you to assign a contract. So the benefit of assigning is, first of all, it gives you an exit strategy, because we all know when you're purchasing pre-construction, it could be anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Sometimes it even gets delayed to longer period.
Life changes, right? Circumstances change.
Life changes, and you want to be able to, get rid of the unit, give it to someone else to close. So that gives you that flexibility. It also allows you to cash in the profit if the market is higher. So if the market moves up and you see, you made some profit and you bought it with the intention of investment, and you're at this stage that you can, use that money, you sell the contract to someone else, and, you get some profit for it, and you let someone else close on that unit.
I think you said that perfectly. You sell the contract to someone else. Look at it in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Really simply put.
Yeah. So the other benefit of it is a lot of times people's finances change. So you might have bought it today and you were able to finance it. 3 years down the road, things have changed, and you may need to give it to a family member, give it to someone else that you're with, maybe you're a spouse or someone, to close for you. So you can assign it to them. You have this option because now they can get financing. You might not be in the position to get the financing for it. So it gives you that flexibility.
To have a name change, essentially.
To have a name change to someone else if you like.
And adding a name, obviously, is something that is obviously you can do it without having the assignment and using up the assignment. Just to be clear, it's really when you remove a name that an assignment would be considered.
Exactly. A lot of times builders don't like you removing the name completely. They can add a name because there'll be more people on the hook. But
which is normal.
Which is normal, yeah. But if you want to change the name completely, you need to have the assignment clause. And last but not least is that a lot of times as the market goes up, sometimes it comes down. And the benefit for a purchaser of an assignment could be that if the market has come down and someone else is in a position that is not able to close on that unit, you pick it up at the same price or at a good price. Let's call it below market value, or at a good price that makes you happy, and get that unit, get a good deal on it, and close instead of them. So these are some of the benefits of purchasing an assignment, or just overall the whole assignment factor.
And then we obviously have the fact that if it's a sold out building, you can still have access to that building.
Exactly. So that's one of the biggest benefits. I mean, some projects, they sell out quickly and people can get into it. 3, 4, 5 years down the road, closer to the occupancy, some people's plans change and you can get into that unit in the sold out project much easier. So these are the benefits, but there are always some risks with assignments. So what are some of the risks that you would think of?
Obviously, you want to anticipate for delays, like any pre-construction, regardless. So
that's one.
So that would be one of them.
So number 2, sometimes the assigner could still be on the hook if the assignee doesn't close on closing. So a lot of times, builder will allow the assignment to happen with a clause saying if the new purchaser does not close, the original person is still on the hook to close on it. So that will be a risk that you would be involved, that you got to make sure just in an event the person can close on it, you're in a position to close, because then, there could be some issues involved with it.
Yeah. As the assignee, you may not have the right to assign again. So that assignment clause may only be valid for one transfer, right? And some of the benefits may actually be taken away.
Yeah. So exactly as she mentioned, some of these perks or incentives they offer
that were
for
originally given.
Yeah, so that's such as right to lease during occupancy, or some credits on closing may not transfer to the second person. So that's something to look out for when you're doing an assignment, and make sure you are aware of what's being taken out when you are getting an assignment or purchasing an assignment.
Make sure you have a good real estate lawyer that is reviewing all of this, right? They will be able to identify what will last and what will be removed, and what's transferable, right? And you want to be sure that you're aware of all of these things. Apart from the fact that it'll take you through all the financials and all of that, right? You get to see the limitations.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to make sure that a lawyer is going to review it, which we're going to go through it. And last but not least, our 5th point would be that if you are selling in a down market, you could have some loss on hand, or not have the full benefit. And that's why we always tell our clients and buy with the intention to close, because if you're buying to assign and when the time comes, the market is not at its optimal position, you will not be able to get the full benefit of purchasing that investment. And a lot of times what I usually suggest to clients is that if you're buying for an investment, well, you rent it out, at least keep it for a year and a half, because usually when a project goes into an occupancy or closing, there's going to be a flood of units that are going to come on the market that usually, as the supply increases, the prices will come down, or the prices will not rise as they should. So you're not going to get the most benefit. But within a year, most of those people that cannot carry the units will sell, and market will kind of balance itself. And usually what we see is that within a year and a half, prices start to rise in most projects.
Keep in mind, these are some of the risks. Now, there are a lot of benefits that outweigh the risks, but these are really the things that you want to keep your eyes open for, right?
Exactly. So let's just go now step-by-step process of how an assignment works.
Let's get into it.
We're going to start from all the way from putting an offer to, the assignee taking over the contract. So step 1 would be for an agent to put an offer for you.
And get a good agent. Not every agent knows how to do an assignment. It is a complex deal. So make sure that you have a seasoned agent doing that. Just as important as the lawyer.
Exactly. Because a lot of these assignment deals, they got on a Schedule B that involves knowing what the purchase price was, what the deposit was. There's a lot of clauses in there that is not your standard resale clauses. But again, if someone has done this before, they would know how to treat it. And there is a lot of little pointers that they should look out for based on each project, that it's not kind of universal across projects. It's
very builder
specific.
dependent.
Like if you're buying from, let's say, project X, if that agent is not aware of things that are happening, that project may not do the contract based on those issues. Let's go step by step of how an offer process would be for putting an offer for an assignment. Again, as we mentioned previously, you got to make sure you got a right agent, because then not every agent is seasoned in doing assignments. It's a little bit more complicated. You got to know each specific project and how to treat it. So step one, putting an offer.
Putting an offer.
Yeah. So that's where it starts. You negotiate the offer and you go based on that. Something in the negotiations that need to be really taken into consideration is how much deposit is paid to the builder originally and how the profit is. And that plays an important role in the negotiation, which we will talk at a later point. But that's something to take into consideration, because that could be, I would say, make it or break it for any assignment deal.
That's usually where you pull the plug, right?
Exactly. That's where deals go bad, because the way the, you know what, why don't we just talk about the math right now? You want to talk about it? Yeah, let's talk about the math right now. So when you put on an offer, you have to pay the deposit that the original purchaser has paid to the builder plus the profit. So let's take $1 million condo. Yeah. You've paid, let's say 20%. So you've paid $200,000. Now the condo has become $1.1 million. So
there's $100,000 profit there.
So the purchaser has to pay the $200,000 plus the $100,000. So when you're doing the contract, the standard way of doing it would be to pay the $200,000 plus the $100,000, so $300,000, and buy the contract outright, and that would be the end of that if the builder approves it. But a lot of people are not able to do that, because sometimes the profit is $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. So you bought a condo at $1 million. Now the profit is $400,000, so that's $600,000. Not a lot of people have $600,000 sitting when they're purchasing $1.6 million condo. So with that being said, the negotiations start, and usually people will pay the original 20% and they'll negotiate the rest. And how the negotiation goes is that they can pay portion of it now and portion of on closing. So that's where you can get a good deal. For example,
that's the appeal.
Yeah. So if the seller is selling it right now, they want their money up front. So you can tell them, let's say they're asking for 1.4 million. What you can say is that, I will pay you 1.2, but I will pay you the entire profit up front, or I'll pay you, let's say 1.4, and I'll pay you the deposit, which is $200,000 that you've paid already to the builder now. Yep. And I'll pay you the $400,000 on closing, which could be 6 months, 2 years, 3 years from now. So that's where the negotiation will happen. And if both parties agree to that, then we move on to the next step. The next step would be our conditional period.
So traditionally, you'll find 3 conditions that you want to include in this kind of an assignment, right? Which is slightly different than your traditional resale. Yeah. Exactly. So you do have your lawyer approval, your lawyer review, which is 3 to 5 days, right? And then that will take...
And that's both for the seller and the purchaser.
Right. You want to make sure to have your own respective lawyers as well, right? Somebody who's seasoned in pre-construction, as we discussed earlier, because this is the part where it can also go wrong. They are complex deals, and oftentimes we see lawyers scaring clients out of the deal. How many times have we seen that?
That is a good point.
So make sure you have somebody that can explain it to you. The lawyer is there to present you the document, the limitations, the liabilities that are attached, and then from there, maybe to change some things if there can, be any changes. Yeah. So that's the lawyer review, which again takes 3 to 5 days. So the second condition that you want to make sure to include is the financing. So very similar to any other purchase, which is traditionally 5 to 10 days, right?
Business days, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so then it leads you to the builder approval, which is the final condition usually. There may be other conditions, but these are really the 3 that we see. And the builder approval is the final stage, like I said, which is about 30 or so days.
Yeah, usually takes about 30 days, and they would need to see your financing to make sure the new purchaser can close on it. And then that's when they will give their consent. Yeah. Both parties sign it, and you go from there, and the new assignee, becomes the new owner of that contract that they can close on. At that point, some contracts will involve a payout. So, for example, that deposit that you've paid originally for that offer could be released to the assigner at that point with the profit, or some of that deposit is released, some of it is going to be released at a later point. That's why it gets complicated, and that's why it all goes into the negotiations that happen at the beginning. So with that being said, let's go to some of the things that we got to look out for, because there's a lot of things that we got to look out for. So this is in no particular order. We're just going to go at it because we've seen a lot of issues arise when doing an assignment. And, your lawyer's got to be really good at doing pre-con and assignment.
Yeah, not just any regular. I would say don't get any lawyer that just does any law. You want to make sure they do a pre-construction law and then that they've done previously assignments.
Yeah,
that's
that
a
is
big
key.
one.
Yeah.
We do have some also that we work really closely with, and we're happy to provide you with quite a few options. If you have your own, I would say those are really the key things to look out for.
Exactly. So some of the things to look out for is the, let's start with the taxes and then we'll work down from there.
Because
So
that's a big one.
biggest one is the HST implication. So when you buy pre-con, any brand new unit has an HST rebate built into it, which is roughly around $24,000. The first purchaser gets that automatically if they're living in it. If they're renting it out, they have to pay that on closing. And if they're leaving it empty, that's a whole new situation now. But when you're assigning it, that new person, the assignee now, even if they want to live in it, they have to pay that $24,000 HST rebate, regardless of what's happening with the unit, if they're living in it or they're renting it out or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So that is an added cost that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
And the way to get it back would be to apply for it. Yeah, apply for it.
Usually 3 to 6 months, I would say
easily, yeah. And then if you're renting it out, you got to provide
proof of lease.
Yeah, proof of lease that someone is in there for a year, and then you apply to get it back. So that is, I would say, the biggest thing right now that could affect your closing, because $24,000. If someone hasn't accounted for it, that could be a big portion.
And then obviously another thing to look out for is the profit. The profit, there is HST to be paid on that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, it's taxable income.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, previously a lot of people were under the impression that it's capital gain. Government came in and said,
Changed
nope,
things up.
It is not. What was it, 2022, May, I think. They said, nope, they cleared that up. Any profit made on assignments is fully taxed. So it's not going to be capital gains.
Yeah.
So you're going to be paying full tax on that, and you have to charge an HST. So assuming you bought the condo at $1 million, selling it at 1.1 on 100,000, you got to be charging 13%. And, that is going to be coming out of the purchaser, or as a seller, you got to absorb that and, remit that to the government. So these are the tax implications that you need to be aware of and talk to your lawyer and accountant about it.
I was just going to recommend, this is something that I really want to make sure you guys talk to your, whoever handles your finances. This is not the hat that we wear, but we want to make sure that you're able to understand that this is some of the implications. And
again, we're trying to cover as much as possible. Yeah. There's a lot of things that go into assignment. We're just trying to cover, I would say, the big issues that we see.
Another one of the things I do want to talk about is, and not to scare anybody off, it's just something you want to be made aware of. You're traditionally not allowed to have your assignment advertised on the MLS.
That is a big one.
And so that does limit you in terms of how you're going to move the property. If you're going to buy it with the intention of selling it or assigning it, you want to make sure that you're able to advertise it on other platforms. So make sure that you know any limitations there.
That is one of the biggest things, because a lot of people will buy it and think, it's easily going to be assignable and you're going to sell it. Yeah. No, because you're not going to be able to put it on MLS. You cannot advertise it anywhere, because a lot of builders actually monitor social media, monitor a lot of places, and if they see you are putting your unit up for sale, they will send you a letter and they can't put you in default. So watch out for that. That is a big one. Yeah. So the way to go about it is...
On the plus side, I mean, we do have other portals that we go and trade. So it is a business in a lot of ways. So it's something that we do often. We've, sold people pre-construction and we've advertised for assignment. Yeah. And we found them a buyer. So it's something that's done every day.
Yeah, there are channels to go through. Yes. So you need to get someone that is versed into selling pre-con and assignment. So that's another topic on its own, how to go advertise that.
Yeah.
You should put a course on that, crash course on how to sell assignments.
Absolutely.
So the other things to also keep in mind.
A lot of the builders don't allow till 90% sold.
That is a big one. So a lot of people think as soon as they buy it next year, they can assign it, the market is up. No. You got to get the builder's approval to be able to assign. So a lot of times, you got to be at 90%.
Yeah. It does change, right, from builder to builder, but really traditionally it's the 90%.
And just to be clear, 90% of the project being sold. So
everything must be released.
yeah, and a lot of times builders do not release a lot of units till last minute. So if that is not released, then it's not at 90%, even though they may advertise it as sold out project.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
And that brings me to just another quick point is the builder. Making sure that it's a reputable builder, I think, is one of the key components to this purchase, right?
Yeah, that is.
Because no one wants to buy from a Mickey Mouse builder.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of builders that cancel projects. So that is one of the biggest factors, knowing the timeline of when you can assign. Because a lot of people say, okay, it's 90%. Some people say, you know what, when the construction starts and we hit, let's say, the first floor or the roof, or a lot of builders even say that you can only assign between occupancy and closing.
Yeah, which gives you a tighter window to move the property.
Yeah, so I mean, like, even if you sell it before that occupancy, you got to wait till occupancy hits, and then the builder will review the contract. So these are the things to watch out for. So if you are buying with an intention to assign, know exactly when you can assign it, because
you cannot assign. Just I want to make sure to add this point because it's really valid and it really ties in what we discussed in the beginning of this. You can't assign once the closing occurs. The closing happens, you must close, or you are in default, which means you lose your deposits.
Yeah.
And I'm sure other ramifications, right? Yeah. So assignment really has to occur before that for sure.
The other point to also take into consideration is the expiry date for an assignment. So a lot of builders will say the deadline to assign would be, let's say, 30 days before closing. Or sometimes they even say, like, 30 days before occupancy.
And the reason is because of the conditions that we put, right? There's that conditional period, those three things, the financing, lawyer review, and the builder approval. And so they need time to sort all of those things out.
Exactly. So these are some of these items to look out for. The other items to also look out for that we previously mentioned is that some of these benefits and incentives may not transfer to the new purchaser. You may not be able to assign it again. So if you want to assign it again, you got to go negotiate that with the builder, and a lot of builders will not allow it. The other items to look out for would be the fee that the builder charges.
Yes.
That is a big one, because sometimes they say it's free assignment, but you're still on the hook for lawyer fee or an admin fee.
Yeah.
So just be aware of exactly what is going on.
And this is not really something to be too standoffish about, because it's minimal charges, but you just want to make sure that you know exactly your dollars and cents, because oftentimes that can affect your closing.
Exactly. So, yes, because it will add up, because you got to pay the land transfer tax, especially if it's in Toronto. You got to pay if it's assignment fee, the HST rebate, which you can't get out of.
Yeah.
And what else you got to pay?
Well, you got
development charges. You got a bunch of development charges. If they're not capped, then that could be a problem. Some projects also have park levies, and this is why, again, you're going to need a good lawyer to
itemize list for
all
you
this
financially.
list for you and know exactly what's going on. While we're in the same topic, again,
where are you going with this?
We have a good assignment group. If anyone's looking to either sell their assignments or look for deals.
Yes.
We have one that is for our clients. We even put some resale deals in there.
And this is something that we do with our family and friends that are in there. So we've vetted this.
Yeah, these are vetted.
And they're really, really good deals.
Exactly. Vetted deals that we've looked at. We've seen the numbers. Everything looks appealing. And we posted there. We also have another group that is mostly for agents. If they're joining, they want to, look for deals in that or post the assignments that they have.
Yes.
Before we finish, if you guys find this useful, be sure to subscribe to NK Real Talk. This is our new podcast. Second, be sure to share it with anyone that's looking for assignments or is in the market to buy a pre-con and wants to know more about how the assignment works. Be sure to click that like button as well. And anything else to add, Dev?
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, and hopefully we'll see you more, because we're going to talk about more pre-construction stuff.
Absolutely.
I feel like pre-con world is just about to start again. We got a lot of projects that is coming down the pipeline right now.
Spring market.
The spring market is coming, and we hope to see people just flourish in the real estate market.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.